Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a weekly Dragon Ball news recap. This week was insane. We actually have NAKATSURU and TOEI'S talking about the brand new Dragon Ball movie that is rumored for release in 2026 or 2027. We'll be talking about that as well as Toei's very, very ambitious 10-year plan that they're now ramping up. Then we'll also be getting into the Xenoverse of it all. There's a ton of Xenoverse information to go over. Looks like Xenoverse 2's DLC is a little bit broken, but it was still enjoyable. Xenoverse 3 is looking more likely than ever before, given Xenoverse 2's roadmap. And we also have some other housekeeping things when it comes to Dragon Ball, like the manga and things like that. So, without further ado, let's start off with the big story of today, the Dragon Ball movie. So this is coming from Xenoverse, and this video doesn't have any subtitles on it, so we're just going to have to go purely off what Xenoverse says here. Unless somebody in the comments section below knows Japanese, maybe you can help us out. So Xenoverse says, TOEI'S, citing the rumor of a new Dragon Ball movie coming in 2027, asks NAKATSURU about his possible involvement. NAKATSURU says he doesn't know whether he would be involved if it turns out to be real. His reaction. So we're just going to analyze this, and I'm not a body language expert by any means, but I think I can get by. I think I could tell if somebody's guilty or not. So let's just go ahead and take a look at this clip here.
あれ、なんかネットによると、ドラゴンボール、再来年映画やるんだって？
え？
映画。
あ、そうなんですか。
中野君かかってないの？
いや、僕はまだ参加するのかどうかも知らないです。
なるほど。
So, coming from a Western American perspective, I understand that the Japanese culture is a little bit different. So, I can't hyperanalyze this as I would anybody else, like if it was a Marvel actor, for example. However, I do think there is something innately human about everybody. I know if you have a polite society and you're still trying to be polite, there are still times when people are caught off guard. So, TOEI'S cites the rumor of a new Dragon Ball movie coming in 2027, so that's probably what he's talking about here. At this point, he's probably talking about the rumor, and he's asking him about it. But then you see a quick jump from NAKATSURU, and then he says whether he would be involved, he doesn't know, if it turns out to be real. So, look at NAKATSURU here. Let's go ahead and full screen this just to get a better look. Look at NAKATSURU right here, right? His face, and then the jump. So he's obviously caught off guard. Now, there's a couple reasons for why this could be. Number one, maybe he just doesn't want to get in trouble if it does turn out to be real, and he would want to work on it, but obviously can't, right? So that's one possibility. Another thing is that he knows and isn't allowed to speak about it. Now, TOEI'S has that big grin on his face. We all know what kind of person TOEI'S is. He's very straightforward, very earnest, very honest, doesn't hold anything back. So for TOEI'S, this is fun. This is fun for him. For NAKATSURU, he's in the hot seat. He is very anxious or nervous. You can tell in the sudden change in his body language. Take a look. So he says it, and then the sudden neck, very sudden head turn, oh my god, did you just ask about that? So a little off guard, right? And then he's talking about, if such a thing exists, I would not necessarily know about it, right? That's what he says, right? Doesn't know whether he would be involved if it turns out to be real. So I love that answer. He's like, I don't know if I'll be involved if it turns out to be real. So it's not like he's denying the rumors. It's not like he's approving of the rumors, and everybody else is a little uncomfortable because they know this is a touchy thing and they're not necessarily supposed to talk about that. But TOEI'S doesn't care. He's taking a drink of his drink there. He's having fun. So, but NAKATSURU himself, obviously very nervous, and he even does this nervous tell. And again, I know I just said I'm not a body language expert, but NAKATSURU even does this thing where he brushes his hair. That's like a nervous tell or a dead giveaway or something like that. I forgot the exact word of what that is, but it's a tell where, if somebody is lying or they're getting caught up in a lie or they're nervous or something, they'll do something with their body. So if any of you have seen a lot of NAKATSURU interviews on camera, does he do this often? Does he brush his hair often? Because it's not even blocking his eyes. That's a nervous thing that he's got going on there. So again, there could be multiple reasons for why he's nervous, whether he actually knows about it or whether he just doesn't want to get in trouble. That's always a possibility, so I'm not trying to dismiss that as a possibility at all, but I just think it's interesting. So they actually did address it. NAKATSURU and TOEI'S are talking about the movie. It's just not anything of substance. But, again, if you're a body language expert, and you can comment down below, is this NAKATSURU subconsciously confirming his involvement? Because I could believe him being involved in the creation of this movie, considering he just worked on Dragon Ball Daima, and he's been working on the series for a long time. He did not do a lot of work on Super, but he's back with Daima, and everybody loved Daima, so I could understand if they wanted to bring him back for another project, especially a movie celebrating the anniversary. So, very interesting stuff. Alright everybody, strap in. This one is going to be lengthy. Big shout out to Vinixis for publishing this information. Toei Animation has announced the first phase of a 10-year plan aimed at turning the studio into a world-class powerhouse, not only by exporting anime from Japan, but also by creating content directly in overseas markets. The plan includes continue to expand the studio's flagships IPs globally, which is very big news for Dragon Ball, of course. Hundreds of hires and key roles within the main studio, which is Oizumi Studio. Establishing 2 to 3 new studios in Asia to support Japanese production within 5 years. New visual expressions and experiences that go beyond animation, which is very interesting. Creating further visual expressions, not only cell look CG, which I think that's directly referencing the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie, right? But I really liked that movie. I loved how it looked. Expanding assets and environments, developing next-generation technologies like VR, AR, XR, I have no idea what XR is, games, motion capture, AI, etc., and various adjacent new technologies. Investing about 70 billion yen over 5 years in the development of productions. Put artists at the center. Creating a mechanism to continuously plan, produce, and manage projects that originate from Oizumi Studio and its artists. This system makes it possible to hold internal calls for projects, select them, and produce them multiple times a year. It brings a variety of works into life and allows experimentation with ideas and methods that differ slightly from existing production lines. In addition, it builds production capacity to give shape to one's own ideas and, by creating short works, reduces the distance between staff members and deepens understanding of the entire production flow. In the past year, pilot production for 2 works was approved. Which is interesting. In the past year, pilot production for 2 works was approved. So they actually approved 2 new projects this year, whether it's Dragon Ball or something else. That's very interesting. That's like a nice little tidbit there. And then in the past year, we've actually had rumors about, try not to, don't hype responsibly, guys. They could have just quietly confirmed Dragon Ball Super is returning. Again, don't like get too excited. This could just be like some other anime, but I just think that's interesting how the timeline's adding up. Another goal is to publicize the artist's role, such as with Genga, which is key animation drawings, exhibitions, and behind-the-scenes posts on social media. That would be cool because they don't really talk about all that behind-the-scenes stuff on social media very much. Global expansion. Tripling the creation of a new IP with a target of 25 IPs created overseas, North America, China, Europe. The goal is to strengthen global development capability and make animation created overseas a second pillar of the business within 10 years by investing about 20 million yen over 5 years in overseas development. The aim is to expand into North America, Central and South America, Europe, Asia, China, which I guess Asia and China, I guess they count as different things, I guess. The Middle East, Africa, and India. India's in Asia too. I don't understand this. I don't know. I'm just not going to read too much into it. A base in Dubai is also planned to seize growth opportunities, which makes sense. They are building that big Dragon Ball theme park in Dubai. Is it in Dubai? I think it is. One sec. Let me fact check myself. Okay, it's not in Dubai. It's in Saudi Arabia. But still interesting nonetheless. The company intends to lead pre-production of works in North America and Europe and produce works that incorporate regional cultures and local artists. Interesting. So they're actually going to probably make anime set in New York or anime going off like the Old West or things like that. Investing about 19 billion yen over 5 years primarily for logistics, e-commerce, stores, facilities, and events worldwide. So Toei is going hard. Now, if you guys missed it, there's this big story about them doing One Piece seasonal now, which is awesome. I love that and what it could indicate for Dragon Ball. Because if One Piece is going seasonal, you know that they're probably going to do seasonal with Dragon Ball. Because I think Dragon Ball should be their baby. That should be the thing that they keep going. But for some reason, One Piece gets that privilege, which is fine. You know, it's been going nonstop. And you can say there's a difference between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Super, but Dragon Ball Super is still Dragon Ball. They should be putting all of that attention into Dragon Ball as well, considering Dragon Ball would be making them more money than One Piece is right now. Right now, One Piece is barely making more money than Dragon Ball, but whenever Dragon Ball Daima was on the air, Dragon Ball was making more money than One Piece. And Dragon Ball was making more money than One Piece for years, even with no anime. So, I find it very interesting that they're doing a seasonal One Piece. That could indicate something for Dragon Ball, whether they're working on Dragon Ball, something Dragon Ball related, and they had to put One Piece on the side and make it seasonal because they're really ramping up production on Dragon Ball, whether it's an ongoing anime or a movie. Or it could just mean that if they ever do bring the Dragon Ball Super anime back, it would be seasonal, which I would prefer, obviously. And that's why I got kind of a little bit excited, because they did actually soft confirm pilot production for 2 works was approved in the past year. So that's interesting. I wonder what those 2 projects were. Anyway, this big 10-year plan is very interesting, especially the part where it said continuing to expand the studio's flagship's IP globally. And this also kind of goes hand in hand with what Ioku was saying. This is very compelling stuff. Hype responsibly, of course. But if Ioku and Toei did resolve their problems, and Ioku wants a big 10-year plan for Dragon Ball, which I think it's more like 9 years now, or 8 years left on that 10-year plan, this could go hand in hand with that. They could be expanding and being like, hey, you know what, Ioku? We like what you said about expanding and not staying so stuck in Japan and going to overseas events and things like that. Maybe this has something to do with that. I don't know. But this is major. This is very, this isn't like some nothing story that nobody would talk about. This is actually the turn of like a new era, you could say. So, very interesting stuff. I'm a little bit worried about the AI stuff. I don't want Dragon Ball made by AI. As far as creating further visual expressions, not only cell look CG, I think what they're saying is that it's not going to be the CG anime that they did with Dragon Ball Super Superhero, which that was a really good looking anime, by the way. It looked really good. So they're going to expand even further than just that, which I'm very interested to seeing what they could be doing if it's not CG. Anyway, guys, that's it for this story. Very interesting stuff, and you let me know what you guys think about all this information. Do you think that this is a turn and everything is going to be different? I hope it is, and I hope we start seeing some announcements, especially in January whenever that big Dragon Ball event is going on. That's going to be freaking awesome. Alright, now let's get into the Dragon Ball Xenoverse of it all. So, Xenoverse turns 10 this year, the Xenoverse series. I keep on wanting to say Xenoverse 2, but it's Xenoverse overall turning 10, which is interesting. They're celebrating the anniversary of Xenoverse, which actually, I wasn't even thinking about this, but that could lead into the whole Xenoverse 3 thing. They're not celebrating Xenoverse 2, they're celebrating Xenoverse, the series, from the release of Xenoverse 1. Celebrate with Xenoverse 10 Fest. So this really just goes to show you they're not looking at Xenoverse 2 as a separate product. They're looking at Xenoverse as a series. Log in to claim exclusive bonuses, day 1 rewards, a special loading screen illustration. So make sure you guys are logging in and just getting the login bonuses. I just wanted to talk about that real quick. As well as mention that they're celebrating Xenoverse anniversary, not just Xenoverse 2, which leads into more stuff. Dive into the ultimate Dragon Ball gaming experience. So in case you guys missed this, they actually made Xenoverse 2 for free for all Xbox players, which I think Xbox players they need a win right now, considering they're probably, most likely, I think it was confirmed, they're not getting a next generation console. They're basically just getting a PC. And Xbox is going away from like the console business, and Halo's going to PlayStation. It's a bad time to be an Xbox fan. So I guess they just wanted to throw you guys a bone. Alright. I said they broke Xenoverse 2's DLC. Listen to this. Listen to this, and you tell me what you think.
If any of you get in my father's way, I'll destroy you.
Obviously, that sounds awful, right? Like, that's just, like, irredeemably bad. Like, there's just, like, no reason for that to be like that. So, Slow Plays went ahead and uploaded this clip, and if you played the DLC yourself, you did not miss it. This was very noticeable. I really liked the DLC, by the way. It had a really nice story. They did a good job of handling their off-brand Black Frieza story, and that's more or less what I think would happen in the Dragon Ball Super continuation, with Frieza ascending or trying to ascend to godhood and all that stuff. So I really liked it, but this was like a noticeable thing. So Damon Mills, voice actor for Frieza, who does a lot with regards to dubbing and directed the Dragon Ball Sparking Zero dub and things like that, he actually commented on this and said, "Yeah, this wasn't supposed to be this. Unfortunately, this was an editing mistake due to information we were given. Thanks for making us aware. Hoping we can get it changed and fixed. Rest assured it will not be this pitch shift again in the future." So there you guys go. It is broken for the time being, but hopefully they can get it fixed. If they don't get it fixed, this would be awful. This would be worse than having the Goku Black voice lines that are all gravelly like Batman and all that stuff. Like, that's just, ugh, awful. If this stays in the game, oh man, you would see me switching to Japanese dub anytime. Anytime I was like, I think I might want to play with Broly from Dragon Ball Super. Yeah, I would switch to Japanese. And this might be the biggest sign that Xenoverse 3 is coming in 2027. So many people say that the Future Saga DLC feels like the final era of Xenoverse 2. It's like a dedicated story arc. I won't get into spoilers, but Xenoverse 2 Future Saga Chapter 3 DLC ending had a scene which seemed to indicate it was building up to an epic climax. It's not like we're continuing with Few even more in like more DLC. It feels like it's coming to a head. So Future Saga Chapter 4 is set to arrive between July and September 2026. That is obviously several months shy of 2027. So if they're closing Xenoverse 2 out before the end of 2026, that could mean obviously they're working on stuff for 2027 and they're not, planning things out that far in advance, right? So this DLC most likely dropping between July and September as the final, if it is, which it seems like it is, as the final wave of Xenoverse 2 DLC. What more could they be announcing? Maybe in late 2026, if this Xenoverse 3 game is not announced in January, they could be announcing it then, or they'll just start ramping up promotion and obviously talking about it more and more in the later half of 2026. Obviously, around the time of the Xenoverse 2 Future Saga Chapter 4 releasing, they'll be advertising Xenoverse 3 and things like that. So, very interesting stuff going on here. Those rumors, they seem to have some weight. I mean, a lot of people are talking about the Xenoverse 3 rumors, so very cool stuff, guys. Very interesting. Xenoverse 3 might actually be real if we just keep looking at all these signs, and these signs are pointing toward Xenoverse 3 actually coming in 2027. All right, now let's take a look at the Dragon Ball Store Tokyo. Very cool. Very cool stuff. Let's go ahead and open it up, actually. Let's go ahead and open that up. Allow all. Sure, why not? So, it looks like there's not a lot of stuff on here yet, but this is what you might expect if you go to this store. Right? Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. This is all really cool. I wish I could go, but that's not really in the cards. Look at that. Oh, no. Dragon Ball GT Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Daima Super Saiyan 4 has essentially replaced GT Super Saiyan 4. That's something a lot of people are talking about. The world's first Dragon Ball store, Dragon Ball Store Tokyo, will offer fans a special experience with exclusive merchandise that can only be purchased here, as well as interior decorations that express the world of Dragon Ball. That's pretty cool. Then you have directions and things like that. So, there we go, guys. There we freaking go. So we already saw that. So yeah, the Dragon Ball Store Tokyo. Here's your first look. It looks pretty cool. And with all this Dragon Ball stuff. Oh, and the Kami's Lookout. Yeah, that's pretty cool. If you guys can make it here, let me know in the comment section down below. Well, obviously not on this video because I don't think they're open yet, but whenever it does happen, let me know if it is as cool as it seems from these pictures. Alright, and the final story of the day. The manga is returning. Well, it's returning in the form of a collected edition. So, Dragon Ball Super Volume 24 releases March 3rd, 2026. This was the big cover reveal. Everybody's freaking out about it. They think it's really cool, which it is, obviously, right? I mean, how could you not think this is cool? It looks amazing. So here we go. Dragon Ball Super Manga Volume 24. Looking absolutely fantastic. We already saw this before, but interestingly enough, I never really noticed this, but the logo on the Japanese manga looks different than on the American manga, or I guess the Western release. I don't know. Do you guys get these same type of manga in Europe? Because I saw some collected editions in like France or something, and they looked a little different than this. So I think this is unique to the American audience. But in the other manga covers, Gohan's hair is going behind the logo. On this, it's going in front of the logo. I just thought that was interesting. Anyways, guys, this is your look at the Volume 24 cover. Looks absolutely stunning. I freaking love it. Anyways, guys, that will be it for this video. This video was interesting. We had an interesting week in Dragon Ball. Some crazy stuff going on, of course, with the Toei animation stuff, and you had the Xenoverse stuff. And this was, I thought, the most important part, was the Torishima Nakatsuru acknowledging the rumor of the movie. They were addressing it directly. And I really would like to see a body language expert tell me what this means. So the sudden jerk of the neck and the head whenever Torishima mentions the movie rumor, like, that's just so interesting. So interesting. Where was it at? Right here. Yeah, it was right here. So he's like, excuse me? You know, like that sudden jerk. And then touching the hair. Touching the hair. Again, I'm not a body language expert, so I need somebody who is a police officer or or a detective. One of you guys have got to have some experience with this. Tell me. This is, I know, I can tell just without any formal education on the matter, this is nervous body language, right? But what could it indicate? Is it indicating he's working on the movie? Does he just not want to get in trouble if they are working on the movie? Does he know about it and he's not working on it? Like, there's just so many options here. Anyways, guys, that will be it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and please don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with all things Dragon Ball news and commentary, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace off.